Greetings, sir and sirettes, and welcome back to Oxygen Not Included with me, Lathrix, and of course, welcome back to the Lathrixian Mines, possibly for the very last time. In today's episode, we're going to tie up the last loose end, that is the temperature control, and then I do believe we are all done in this world. The reason being, we could very easily continue to refine things, to make things better, to become more space efficient, but that would be very time consuming and utterly boring to watch. So instead, I've decided, some of you may like this, some of you may hate this, that this will be the last video on this world, and then we will begin Season 2 after a short break, just so I can get my bearings and get all of the love for the game once again back. So far, Oxygen Not Included has been a truly fantastic game to play, and has seen some really fantastic support. So thank you so much to everyone who's been liking and commenting on this series. It really has helped out, and definitely made me want to play so much more. But in the next video, which will be the next season, we're going to go a little bit more try-hard, which definitely isn't in my normal MO. Normally, I like to learn as I go, and I feel like I've hit the level now where I've learned all the little tips and tricks of the game, but implementing them on this world, in which I've learnt them, would be really difficult, especially since I have built far too big, which is actually the main issue with this base currently. Look at just how far every one of my poor little minions have to go to do absolutely anything. In terms of watering our terrariums, in terms of getting fuel to our coal generator, even going to the toilet, it's a long run each time, which makes them so incredibly inefficient, it's actually starting to hurt our systems now. A good example of which is right now, all of our water purifiers are actually waiting for sand, but they're not getting it because of how busy all of our minions are in other places of the base. Work has now begun on our insulated room, and as such, very soon we get to place the thermoregulator. Now, the thermoregulator will absorb some of the heat from the gas in the pipes and export it to the nearby area, also known as our lovely insulated room. After this, the gas will be pumped over here and over here, in which the cooler oxygen will be able to circulate throughout the base. Now, how this should work, considering that the cold air will always drop and the hot air will always rise, which seems like this won't work, is that as this area down here cools, the heated oxygen will be pushed up further and further and further until it hits the gas pump and then goes back down. By then, the oxygen I've already pumped in will have cooled, well, will have heated naturally via all the different heating elements we have working around here, and so that should once again be pushed up by the newer, cooler air, eventually reaching a sort of equilibrium. In addition to this, our pump will constantly be removing oxygen from this area, causing it to have less volume, and so all of the gas down here should also be pushed up naturally to fill that void. At least, that's how it should work, so that way there's a constant flow of cool to hot air, and no pockets of extremely warm oxygen should be left. Again, that's the idea. Another way we could do it is have a small pocket somewhere like here to insulate, and then have the extremely hot section cooled, and then the cool air pumped back nearby. That should work, but it doesn't promote the constant movement of all of the gases, which I think will work better, at least I really hope will work better. I mean, that's why we're doing it now, because I feel like that, the little insulated room, would be the safer option, which would definitely work well. This may work incredibly well, or it may simply not work at all, but since we are leaving this base soon, I think it's the best opportunity we have to be a little bit experimental. Okay, the thermoregulator will go here. And then, if we go down to piping, we want just the regular pipes, because they're cheaper, all the way from here down to near the insulated room. So, like so. Doesn't matter if they're a bit exposed here. And then when they get close enough, we change them for the insulated gas pipes, which go like that. Ta-da! These will also be insulated anyway, and then we need one of these here. I wonder if I could have just flipped that. You know, I probably could have, but oh well, too late now. And then that goes back out, and for now, let's just put it up to here, which we of course need to build some ladders to build that. Absolutely wonderful. Oh, on a side note, I've got a new person, because I felt like we needed a new person to speed everything up. I feel like for this to work as well, we need some more of the gas permeable tiles, just to make sure the gas is more likely to move consistently with our new system. There we are. And then, do we need any more here? Yeah, sure, let's make it easier for this as well, since this is the major column. But actually, maybe we shouldn't make this easier. That way it promotes all of this cooler air to move around. No, because the cooler air won't move around naturally anyway. That's the whole point of this. Again, this may not work, but I do understand how it works. It's just seeing if this particular way will also work. Power, electrical wires. Not quite. I mean, kinda got there, then messed up at the end. Then once again swapping to the insulated version, because once we're in here, things are going to get very, very warm once it starts cooling the rest of the gas. And finally, one more thing we need to do very soon is we need more algae. Very, very soon indeed. So what we need is some more biodistillers. And thus, we also need some more air deodorizers. Where are you? Refinement? Yes, it is. So biodistiller goes there and there. So these create water, well, contaminated water, and they also create algae by consuming slime. And we have loads of slime at the moment, so we need to start using this far, far more often. Back to plumbing, regular liquid pipes. And I'll be back in a second once we've made some progress of all of these things. Oh, hello! Now this is something amazing. This is the Puft, an extremely buoyant, non-aggressive species. The Puft rids itself of excess pathogens by excreting lumps of slime with each breath. So this will devour contaminated oxygen and then give us slime. Slime, of course, giving us water and also giving us algae for regular oxygen. That's pretty fantastic, but we don't really want him here, and I don't even think he functions when he's underwater. So what we need to do is coerce him down here in this section. That may be difficult to do, but it would mean that this becomes a slime farm. Okay, let's just dig him out then. For now, dig, and that's algae, so let's make sure to go there to grab the algae as well. We do want to break the water out, because that will go all the way down here to our pumps, which currently aren't working. And then we will have a Puft, which means we have more oxygen. Now, annoyingly, I completely forgot that slime produces contaminated oxygen, so we've got a little bit of poison here and there, not too much, not enough to really cause any big issues, but it is certainly there, and that is because I had slime in here, I had slime in there, and I even had slime over here. Now, slime can only be held up here, so it should fix itself fairly soon. Also, can you guys please build that? Yeah, okay, good. You're already on maximum priority. Also, is that following Cass? It is. Cass, sweep pending. Are we trying to sweep up Cass? That's a little bit different. Darn it, one of our people have become sick. Catherine has the spores, infected by standing in a toxic area. Duration apothecary. 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 So, we should make one of these things and a medical cot. Do these have any negatives? No. Oh, that one does require power, however. But it does produce herbal remedies. For now, though, let's just make a cot. A nice little cot right there. It doesn't make anyone upset, so let's just put it there, max it out. Maybe a bad placement next to this cot, but just whenever you can, build that. Oh, we're about to release the Puft. And we have loads of slime as well, which is good, since now all three of our distilleries are happily working away. Probably still need more in the future, honestly, but for now it will be enough, and max that out. That's always being replaced, as we do need algae, obviously. Insufficient oxygen. Ooh, really? I wonder why that is. Oh, okay. They're awaiting water, and they're also awaiting algae. That's the problem, because we've got them doing so much other stuff. So we can produce enough oxygen. Our guys are just too busy. You're going to be unhappy working there. Oh, come on. That's the last one we need to remove. Thank you. And that goes down there, we can pump that into our reservoir. All is good! All is well. Should we get another person? Because we totally could right now. Oh, all that contaminated oxygen because of me messing up. It's got everywhere so quickly. The Puft is free! Consuming contaminated oxygen. There we go. Let's watch it for a while. A lot of it, in fact. And then... poop. Slime. Excellent. The thing is, can it still produce slime if it runs out of contaminated oxygen? But actually, the slime produces contaminated oxygen. But does that remove the slime, though? We'll have to find out, and hopefully once the water is gone as well, it'll spend less time just kind of stuck in the water and more time producing slime, which we need for everything. Slime is life, everyone. So another note, and another reason why we do need to restart. These biodistillers should really be somewhere near our oxygen production, such as our algae terrariums. But they are all the way over here, which means the slime and the algae is all being processed over here, and then we have to go all the way down here to give these things the algae, and then all the way over here to give them the water. It's a little bit irritating and definitely not very efficient. Well, we have another new person because at this point, we simply need more people. Everything is so inefficient, we need more people doing the basic jobs. Of course, this does mean we are going to need more food and such, but at least everything's going to get done. Finally, at last. Maximum! Here's something very interesting. It turns out that this lovely little fellow, the lovely Morb fellow, will continuously produce contaminated oxygen all by himself, and it doesn't use up any form of substrate, at least that's what I'm reading. So if you put a Morb near a Puft, and again, this sounds very weird to say, the Morb will continuously produce contaminated oxygen, then the Puft will continuously produce slime. The slime can then be used to continuously produce algae and water, and therefore you have unlimited oxygen and unlimited water via these two lovely little animals. And these two are really close to each other. In fact, I don't think... oh no, I don't think you can cut through this stuff. Can you? Nearly impenetrable, so maybe you can then. And that's not actually too difficult for us. If we cut here, so he can't jump out, and then hook this up to here, add a mesh and block him in, this could be an unlimited slime farm. And then we could stay here forever. Very curious indeed. That is, if this little fellow doesn't actually need a substrate to produce oxygen. So another question I have then about the Puft is how much contaminated oxygen creates how much slime, because if it is efficient, even in the slightest, then this slime turning into contaminated oxygen would just be feeding the Puft. Then the Puft would poop it back out as slime. So it's a 1-for-1. Then if it's more efficient than 0%, then it's making more slime than it's consuming contaminated oxygen, in which it's unlimited slime anyway. I'm very curious about you, little Puft. Well, it's time for yet another person. Definitely not the smartest thing to do now, but it will make everything else easier. You have irritable bowel, and you will fall asleep anytime, but you are a quick learner, which is good for a new person entering our place. You do not get sick, which is great at the moment, and you're a good chef. Don't really need that too much, though. You eat loads of food. Don't want that. As you can see, we're actually a bit low on food right now because we're waiting for a harvest. I'm going to go with the scientist. Yay! Narcolepsy! I need yet another cot. We now have 9 people. You can tell I'm getting ready to leave because I am dooming this place in the long term by adding so many people to this place. Please build a cot so he is a productive member of our society. He is a productive... there we go, I can speak. Seriously though, guys, 9 on the harvest. All of those. Now. Also, Lice Loaf. Make it. I should also just mention, for those wondering, I have indeed completed every type of research. Yet another reason why I do believe starting again is now a necessary thing. We are at the point where it's just our initial design of everything which is the big problem. It's not like there's one small issue we could fix to then fix everything. We're now spiraling out of control, thankfully not that quickly, but eventually it will just be unbearable. Next time, we're going to do so much better. Well, here we are finally at the main part of this episode. We have the thermoregulator going off. So what it's doing is cooling the gas which is going through and then sending it back up. So I'm not too sure how much it's cooling it by. I guess the best way would be to go into the gas mode. Here we are. So we can see here, this square. Let's go with the square here. This one here is 28.4. And that should be that one now, which is now 19.7. That's a massive change. So, yep, it's now cooling it all off. But, of course, what we need to do is insulate this from everywhere else so we don't end up having all of this heat leak out into this section and then go up. So, let's prioritize maximum U. Go. So, to answer a question earlier, the Puft does indeed use up more of the contaminated oxygen than it produces in the slime, because as you can see, it's actually managed to completely clean this air, with only a few very small pockets of contaminated oxygen left. So it's just kind of chilling now. We need to get him trapped down here again. I found out something a little bit morbid. It turns out that the Morps will actually spawn when you kill, well, when one of the duplicates die. Now, I may have just let my intention slip there, because what we could do is simply put one of our lovely, lovely fellows somewhere like up here, suffocate them, spawn in a Morp, and then that way we could have a consistent source of contaminated oxygen and thus unlimited slime. That would be very mean. And because that way we would have unlimited water, it means we'd also have unlimited power because we could move over to a hydrogen generator. And the reason being, if we go over to our plumbing, or at least I think it's in plumbing. Nope, sorry, it's in oxygen, and that's because we have the electrolyzer, which uses water, which we would have unlimited of, to produce oxygen, which is fantastic, but also, and most importantly, it would produce hydrogen, thus giving us power. Although I don't think it really gives us enough power to feed back, it still would be a great way to get enough power to at least function some of the more basic stuff, for water and oxygen, for instance. That's good to see. We can actually have two pumps, both feeding the same thermoregulator, and that way we are getting double of the cool gas down at the very bottom, and so we have a second gas vent. They're definitely working, everything is going according to plan, just I was amazingly wrong about how much can actually be pumped out of these pumps. Because annoyingly, each time a pump works, as you can see now, it then claims that it's not in gas because it's making a vacuum, which takes a second to fill by the gas around it, and then once again it can pump. This is also acting as a good way to get oxygen all around the base, because the oxygen pulls at the top naturally, which is then being pumped all the way to the bottom, so it's both cooling the base and ensuring oxygen is everywhere, even though at the moment we're actually going through a bit of an oxygen problem stage. Not killing ourselves, but it's still a problem. Well, I'm afraid I am now calling the episode, and as such, calling the season. And you may be wondering, Lathrix, what prompted you to call the end now, rather than in about a minute's time when all of that lovely carbon dioxide is completely devoured by the algae terrariums, now that you have a ridiculous amount of algae thanks to your ridiculous amount of slime, thanks to the Morb and the Puft. And honestly, if you thought all of that, then credit to you, because that is a lot of details I didn't disclose until this point. But either way, I am calling the episode now because it is cycle 1, 2, 3. And I saw that and I just had to call it. Everything is actually going surprisingly well. The people are a little bit upset at the moment, mostly because they were just finishing off in the more disgusting areas, which sadly did require going through poisonous water over and over again. We also have this deep, dark mine with no oxygen in, which was making people upset again. So there were a few temporary things which were causing major issues. But, surprisingly, everything was going okay. We found some huge stockpiles of coal. If I wanted to, I could now move on to hydrogen. We are just making a load of water. We've just now run out of slime, since we just finished this little dig here, but there is plenty of slime available, and again, unlimited slime very soon. But I am calling it here because I'm not happy with how everything is. It would survive, but it wouldn't survive well. We could do so much better. So that's exactly what we're doing in Season 2, so thank you so much for the immense amount of support. Although Oxygen Not Included did not get the viewership of other series, it certainly had so many likes, so many comments, so much interaction, which I love to see. So a massive thank you to everyone who's done that. It really does feel fantastic to see all of those things go on to a series which isn't exactly the most popular, at least in terms of numbers. So, until Season 2, thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, then of course, likes, favourites, shares, comments, all that good stuff helps out me, helps out the channel, and most importantly, shows that Oxygen Not Included is a series you wish to see come back in the not-so-distant future. And next time we use gas vents, we'll just put them everywhere. It certainly seems the better option than just having one localised source of oxygen. Placing it everywhere just causes oxygen to be nice and spread out, along with a nice generalised cooling effect, unless there's one area in particular which is far, far too warm. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. And goodbye from my 12 minions.